Hello there, it's good to be back again for your current affairs program that brings you news in detail every week. I'm Francesca Piribanda, and you are watching The Scoop. One year after the launch of the revised school curriculum, learning materials have not been delivered to all schools. Although the curriculum has been implemented, a lot more still needs to be done to ensure learning materials are readily available to make this development a success. In January 2014, the Zambian government launched the introduction of local languages as a medium of instruction. The Minister of Education, John Phiri, gave a directive that the schools immediately start implementing this new curriculum. The implementation started despite teachers not having the learning materials.
We came up with a new system where we are to use the local language as a medium of instruction in the early grades, that is from early childhood to grade 4. And I think one thing that goes with such a change is something to do with the production of learning and teaching materials. I think that is very, very key in every situation where you have to change a particular kind of curriculum. So what we did was that our Department of Standards and Curriculum, through the Curriculum and Development Center, had to engage a lot of stakeholders. These are the publishers and also our teachers, to see how best we can do the production of these materials in the early grades to enable the young learners and also the teachers that are implementing the new curriculum be availed with these materials.
Although some schools immediately implemented this curriculum, some found it difficult in terms of language barriers. One lecturer at Harvard University, United States of America in Boston, is lecturing Bemba at this prestigious school.
So Chibemba na fielo na chwe chitundu chako balila pwecho na asambili Chibemba twalera ndam Chibemba panganda nelio na ile ku secondary school na lichitire Chibemba so Chibemba na lichitemwa chiromfika bwino pakulanda ero mwali bamashibuyamo ayakweba tusange mu kitundu chimbi. I was very excited about that because what has been happening is that we have been losing our native languages. A lot of parents, especially younger generation, they've been talking to the children in English. But our native languages are very, very important to our culture, to our very development, because without that we are going to be lost. Our culture is rooted in our languages. And if we don't have our languages, then we'll just be a lost people speaking in English with no anchor to it. So I'm so excited that this language is coming back in schools. When I was in school, I actually did take Bemba as a language. That's how come I know Bemba so much, even if I'm in Senga, because I did take Bemba in school. And English is very easy to learn. So it doesn't mean that when a child is taught in Bemba, when they start learning to speak, that they won't learn English. That's not true. I spoke Bemba all my life. I started learning English in school. And I feel like I probably speak better English than Bemba.
Teresa Lungu has been away from her home country, Zambia, for the past 15 years.
We are going to continue talking about the family members because our homework this week will be making a family tree in Bemba.
Being able to lecture one of Zambia's local languages brings her closer to home in some way.
Shari. Bemba is not known language. Nyanja sometimes, but Bemba is not usually there. But Bemba is like the biggest spoken language in Zambia, and so having Bemba be taught at Harvard is very, very big for me. And myself having been the first person to teach this, bring Bemba to Harvard, it's a great honor for me. And it also speaks to one Zambia, one nation. I am not Bemba by tribe, I am Nsenga, but here I am teaching Bemba and bringing Bemba to the world. So if this helps to bring Zambia together, I would be very happy that it happened.
Aside from that, Teresa has faced challenges in accessing learning materials for her two Bemba students at Harvard.
there were no resources. I looked around Harvard, I requested books from all the libraries in Bemba, and the only ones I found were books in Bemba that were catering to Bemba speakers. And I did reach out to a few in trying to find this material that would help maximize my instruction in Bemba. At the moment, I am following Harvard's syllabus and their lesson plans, and I'm just adding the language in there.
Back in Zambia, the Basic Education Teachers Union of Zambia is concerned about the curriculum and how it will be spread out countrywide. Geoffrey Simuntala is the General Secretary of the union.
You know, when you are talking about education reforms, there is supposed to be, we were supposed to have a specific period of time in which to implement these reforms. It's like we may begin to point fingers at each other basically because it was hurriedly done. But that said, it does not mean that government needs now to put in its best to ensure that the teaching and learning materials are taken to schools and then made available as quickly as possible so that the smooth implementation of this new curriculum is achieved, or else we'll be talking about something else.
The policy on education recognizes the use of familiar Zambian languages as the official languages of instruction. This means that teachers by now should be using local languages to teach all the subjects in the preschools up to grade 4. Zambia National Teachers Union feels that teacher training will help the ministry implement the curriculum effectively.
Currently, we do not have books in the schools. Even the syllabuses are not there, so to say. And then this is an issue that we have always engaged government and requested them to do something. We know money that has been allocated to Ministry of Education, much as it sounds big, may not really be adequate to cater for all these things we are talking about. But we are making an earnest appeal. Much as we know that the cooperating partners have been doing something, but we are still making an earnest appeal for them to help us with the resources to print enough books for our teachers and enough books for our pupils, because that is what is going to help us to implement the new curriculum effectively.
Take note that materials have been produced, but the challenges are there in every school. That's much we want to know. Have they been equally distributed? But for us, our concern is really the training of the teacher. You may have these materials, but we have enough teachers really who can say they can be in every school to teach the local language. I think the colleges are challenged this time around to make sure that they train a lot of teachers in Zambian language, with specifics in the areas of interest in every local language. They define local language, which are going to be taught in schools across the country. Therefore, one would like to say that we don't want more to be blamed that the background, the beginning was weak. Let us begin with solid ground of having trained teachers, having materials, and at the same time, a monitoring system to find out whether there is a big improvement.
The Ministry of Education has maintained that the material is readily available.
Yeah, as I said, you know, these materials are all over, and mostly you realize that these materials are not produced by the ministry itself. Instead, we have independent publishers that we engage through our procurement procedures to do the production of these local language materials and any other materials. So people outside the country, I'm sure they'll be able to find out who are the publishers that the ministry is engaging in order to find some of these materials. And not only that, also our Curriculum Development Center will be able to provide more information on the kind of materials that we have for each grade for use by the teachers as well as for the learners.
But a check at some schools within Lusaka has revealed that teachers still don't have the local language teaching materials. The teachers are now improvising to ensure that they follow the minister's directive. And the pupils are getting used to this. In order for this to be accessed, the learning materials have to be made available. Otherwise, it may be a misplaced cause. Life after prison has proved to be hard for most ex-prisoners when they go back into society. A female juvenile who recently finished serving her jail term has joined the many ex-prisoners who are striving to start a new life after gaining back their freedom. But just what does the future hold for 17-year-old Mary? These prison walls were home for a 17-year-old girl for the past 1 year. We will call her Mary, as she has asked that we conceal her identity. She had just gotten married in 2014 when she found herself in an unfortunate circumstance with one of her friends.
So pamene naenda mkutenga ndrama ya chilima pati na peskati na muza nabotenga ndrama ya chilima nyuku kuseli anakamba ti sininga kupasi ndrama ya chilima ni bendrama nata ungankalo bendrama bwani neze suppose kutenga pa 16 lero mpa 23 ungakangoni pasa ndrama ya chilimba ate sinza kupasa. So ndi pamene anabwamba kuntukwana udzamzanga anamba kuntukwana ndi pamene nabona nene namubwezamo tabwata abwani minyambama nene ndi patini mbwezemo inapezeka nabwami aminya kumozi na mwana.
2 weeks after the fight, her friend's baby died and Mary was arrested for murder, but the charge was later changed to manslaughter. She was found guilty of the offense and convicted to 1 year, 1 month at Lusaka Central Prison, also known as Chimbokaila. The next year was to become Mary's most challenging time yet, something she had never imagined she would go through in her life at such an age, or ever at all. She came across convicted criminals who made her life even more difficult.
Apa so tendo kuika mdrama apatendo kushita bwana so neze nabwana nkala o mangi kan nenzo yopa kutini kafuna nika kutini kabiseo nenze kumvera maningi manda.
The Scoop first had an encounter with Mary in 2014 when Mother of Millions Foundations donated some items to the children being born and raised in prison.
First yapanishta thank you pali wa Mothers of Millions wenze kumuchita support mwana wenze kumpelekisa ku skulu wenze kunitandizira mu vintu vambiri wenze nitandizira kwa mwana wenze kunitandizira mu njira zose yanasiyana munga bokuja kuja kuli benango bali bema visit prison kamine kuja siba baona kuti bankale na vokuja kuja. So a Mothers of Millions wenzo tisapotako esetina abana mvenifuti kulina bamine sibainda kukoti ankara chabe for 2 years achabe mwamine muja siba mupeleka koti ango nkara chabe chija chabu inofuti na cheve nkachangana sibeta ngati bamumanga ngati nola kwa mmanga ngati sola kwa beta achoka than mwamina nkali na ndafya mudani bantu bavutika manini.
She says some of her family members abandoned her and said she found comfort in some inmates who became like her second family.
Wenze kuntandizira mjira zosiyana siyana benzo peska tiniribe nangova kudya vili vonse benzo nitandizira wa Beatrice Angwende niwo chepesa kumuntu bali yense nyonga sikomo batero wana manga kuti azeni kondemu mulungu ekandazi wazachoka mzina la Yesu because yakuti mtima wamene bali nawo pali manje wanachinja wanankala azeni bantu munga che bantu chabe bali na mtima wa chifundo noti na mwamene benze lili dara wenze puto maningi mwametenzo mverera chabe vete nambera but by this time wanachinja.
Mary also shares one of her lowest points behind bars.
Bonga chabe nakankalido kamuja mukati munkaleko hapa paipa mukati munkaleko hapa baza kupishani kune ero ufuna kugamba kuna blulu wako peza timing ono 5 minutes wawapisha ulibe vintu vili vonso kutu wauze chabe kuti ufuna ko tusara chabe inkala yenze vutako venze kunilemera chabe vakuti na freedom chabe ni abwino upeza kuti vavutika vantu kunkhala chabe pamozi na pamozi peze kati chintu cho chabwino ndepadachoka prison wenango vadwala.
Mary says she has learned her lesson and would like to forget about that part of her life and move on.
Nenzeri bema support kuri family yanga tewanga na mai wanga na mwalira so nizo kunkala chabe chinkale so that's why nabona pesa kati nikwatiliwe chabe kuchira nizipitana mu bana.
Okay. She wants to complete her education and make a living for herself.
Nafika grade 7.
Unzeko na maplans yena kukaribu kwati wakuchunga funa kuchita chanu kasiza skulu nzoganza pamwe ngasiza po skulu
nzoganza tinza series nzofuna nkala msoja ndevenzo ushi ndafa family yanga wambili ni masoja so nane nzo ushinga so chapi sti mulungwaro la nambako skulu na series za skulu ningafune kupitiliza tininde kwa mini kusoja.
Her husband is not in employment, and as such, Mary is struggling to make ends meet.
Zankala voni vutako kupeza kuti na dadi wake siwa senza chita kuti wanga mpeleke skulu wanga nileko nisonkera nyumba wanga nileko vakudya vamuno mvovuta so chinkala chotilemera na chiti mpeleke skulu ga pempeko chitandizo ya kuti nifuna kuti at least namba ko ka business chabe kali konse namba kwa yako nizisapota ko skulu ndivyo ningafunire.
Mary turns 18 this year. She is a young girl full of dreams and hopes, and despite her circumstances, she has decided to forge ahead in life. What she needs is to be empowered with education, and she can use her skills to make a living. She is just but one of the many juveniles who go back to nothing after serving a prison sentence. And now we look at the proverb of the week. This week's proverb says, "A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step." A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. That's all for the scoop. Remember to email us at frontoffice@movietv.com for any of your comments, contributions, or even questions to this program. This has been Francesca Banda. Thank you so much for the pleasure of your company. Have a lovely week and stay blessed.